with Air Canada last year, my dad's from Scotland. His name is Alex Stewart. They actually left him in Toronto. So they gave him a free flight when he went back to Scotland. Like he went to his air transit lady. And so he had a first what is it? First time, first class for Air Canada. Like coming here November 2nd, it was perfect. He went with WestJet to Air Transit. And as soon as he got here, everything was good. So when I dropped him off this year, November 22nd, at 11 o'clock, he had to board at 12:15. Me and my sister, we went up and we gave, my dad has wheelchair assistance. So I rent him a wheelchair when he comes. So I wheeled him in there. We gave him all the particulars. And the lady that was who I was dealing with my dad, her name was Barb. And she just says, "Oh, Mr. Stewart, so because you're flying first class with us, as soon as you get to Toronto, we will pick up your suitcase and we're going to leave you at Terminal 1." Going forward, I says to Barb, I said, "So what are we going to do with my dad? As soon as you get to Terminal 1, Mr. Stewart, we're going to pick up your suitcase and we're going to leave you there." And I says, "Well, what do you mean you're going to leave him there? He needs wheelchair assistance." And she just says, "Well, that's just too bad." And I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "My dad has congestive heart failure. He's had open heart surgery. He's had 10 heart attacks. He's a type 1 diabetic and he needs wheelchair assistance. He pays the extra to get the wheelchair assistance." And she's like, "Well, the only thing that I can do is recommend that you, Joanne, phone up Toronto yourself and get everything organized." And I said, "So how is that my fault? Like, why do I have to?" I said, "Can you guys please take the next step and, you know, find a way for my dad to get to Terminal 1 to Terminal 3 because Toronto Airport is a big airport." And they didn't care. They didn't care if my dad had medical issues. My dad was in tears, and I says to my dad, "You know what, Dad, I will figure it out." And Barb and the other girl, Sandra, says, "Well, you know what, Mr. Stewart, maybe next time you should just get a direct flight from with Air Canada." And I said, "Well, no, like he got a free flight because you guys screwed up on his trip last year, which you guys left him in Toronto for 8 hours. Like you guys forgot about him until somebody was walking by and says, 'Are you okay?' We had to check his blood. His blood was sugar was very low and stuff. So the security called somebody. So that's why he got the first class. Um, so what I did was I wheeled my dad through, and the wheelchair assistant person in the Winnipeg Airport was very upset. Like she just says, "I don't know how anybody can treat you like that, Mr. Stewart." So they took my dad through, and I went back and I spoke to Barb and I spoke to Sandra, and I just says, "You guys should be ashamed of yourselves." I feel that, with the discrimination with my dad having health issues, you guys could have took the extra measure and the extra step in calling, Toronto for, to get my dad, suitable. So I had to phone Toronto and I spoke to the guy, Kenny, and I called the 188 number 247-2262. And I spoke to him, told him the situation, and he went personally. He was very upset and he told me to give you guys a call. And he said, "I will go pick up your dad at Terminal 1 to take him to Terminal 3. And then we'll get him. He'll have to go through customs again, and he'll have to show his passport and that, and then we'll get him on the plane with Air Transat, and he will go straight to Glasgow with that." So I called the lady that pulled my dad through, and I told her to tell my dad that everything is sorted so he can have a restful flight. His heart was very flickering, like I said. It's just what happened with my dad at the Winnipeg Airport on November 22nd and 11. It was not proper. You know what I mean? It wasn't proper customer service. They didn't care about my dad's, needs, his health concerns or his disability or anything. They just didn't care, and I just want my story heard because, I feel that with my dad, he, with him having wheelchair assistance from, Glasgow to Toronto, Toronto to Winnipeg, they should take good care. It doesn't matter what airline you go on. If you're paying for wheelchair assistance, and you need some help and reassuring that, to get your luggage and to take you from terminal to terminal, you should be able to, you know, do that. And I was just not satisfied with Air Canada, period. A lot of people have been complaining about Air Canada, and I just feel that, something needs to get done. Something needs to get said. You know, my dad would like a free flight, but not with Air Canada. He loves WestJet. But like my dad saves up his money. Like he's a old page pensioner and he gets excited to come here, and with his trip going back every year, his trip going back is always something with Air Canada. So that's what I says to my dad. He's back in Scotland now. He's went to the hospital a couple times just because his blood sugar was all over the place due to the situation that happened November 22nd. And the doctor just says, Mr. Stewart, maybe the next time go on a different flight that you're not stressed and it doesn't make your heart palpitate and your diabetes, like your blood sugar go all over the place. Like what's Air Canada has caused my dad was not good. Not just my dad, but for myself too. Like I was all panicking to see if my dad's going to get, like is he going to get home safe? Like, and I couldn't, like, it was very frustrating. And like I said, they said you can do it. And I'm like, I'm not even a travel agency. How am I supposed to do it? So that it just makes me very upset that, people, human beings can't take the next step. And they just says, maybe your dad shouldn't fly. Like, you know what? Really? Like, I don't know why Barbara, that Sandra at Winnipeg Airport would say that. That was very cruel. I enjoy seeing my dad because he lives in Scotland. So when I don't see him every day and I can't give him a hug and I can't give him a kiss, it really affects me. But when I get to see him in person, it brings me happiness and joy, you know? So what they said is it just really hurts because I love my dad and I enjoy seeing him, and they couldn't take the proper measures. Like something could have happened to my dad if they just left him at Terminal 1. So I would like it to get heard that Air Canada has to, do different measures, treat their customers with respect and dignity, and not just elderly people, like other people. They were very rude. The lady in front of us was, like upset with them too before we went up, and she was my age, 41. And I'm just like, wow, like they don't have any customer service. Their airline should be closed down, period. That's what I wanted to bring up to you guys today.